Well, if you thought being $150 billion in debt, and if you thought that losing enough employees was bad, well, looks like the slaughter is about to begin because AT&T is about to chop more heads. Hey, what is going on, everybody? How are you all doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful and fantastic day today, and if not, hopefully you all will have a better tomorrow. Yet again, here we are, WarnerMedia, AT&T. They are about to clean house again, but this is going to be even worse than before. We've seen tons of layoffs. We've seen tons of people just get chopped. Last time we saw how it was 650 employees. Now, well, it looks like the number is going to be up in the thousands. To anyone out there that works at WarnerMedia, well, keep your resume updated because there's a lot of people getting ready to get chopped because you just never know. I mean, this is insane. And now they're about to clean house yet again. WarnerMedia, its ranks already thinner, looks to shed thousands more jobs amid the pandemic. Now keep something in mind. The pandemic is not the reason why this is happening. In fact, we had already seen layoffs and a lot of chops before the pandemic occurred. WarnerMedia had already had a lot of its problems prior, and so it's now getting worse. And just keep in mind, we're going to go into everyone this affects. Rooster Teeth, Crunchyroll, DC Comics. We're going to get into all that. WarnerMedia is looking to implement a fresh round of layoffs as the pandemic continues to wreak havoc on the entertainment business. The company confirmed to Deadline in a statement that it has not been immune to the pandemic and is looking at further cuts. The Wall Street Journal was the first to report about the newest reductions and indicated that WarnerMedia is eyeing 20% reduction of its cost to counter a downturn in revenue across theatrical, film, TV networks, and other businesses. That's going to be a big drop. Ooh. That would mean thousands of positions. Thousands. Keep in mind, thousands of positions are going to get chopped. The guillotine is set. WarnerMedia would not comment on specific numbers. Oh, of course, they're not going to do that. Why would they do that, right? Nobody expected that out of them. Like the rest of the entertainment industry, we have not been immune to the significant impact of the pandemic, the company said in a statement. That includes an acceleration in shifting consumer behavior, especially in the way content is being viewed. We shared with our employees recently that the organization will be restructured to respond to those changes and prioritize growth opportunities with an emphasis on direct-to-consumer. Now, when they mean direct-to-consumer, well, that would mean that they're talking about HBO Max, clearly. We are in the midst of that process, and it will involve increased investments in priority areas and, unfortunately, reductions in others. So, priority areas. Now, what does that mean? Well, taking a look at it, what is not a priority? Well, you take a look at DC Comics. DC Comics, it's not a priority to them. Because while you have the characters, and they can make movies and shows off of them, that's where they're going to see the priority be. When it comes to the comics, no. I mean, you look at what's been going on with the comic book industry. The comic book industry went woke, and it's going broke. And DC, obviously, they themselves have put themselves in that position, and they're not a priority. Now, while they can market off the characters of the comics, in shows and movies, the comic books themselves are not seen as a priority. Crunchyroll is also not seen as a priority. In fact, we already know about where they were trying to sell Crunchyroll for $1.5 billion to Sweeney, and they said no, of course, because they didn't even think that Crunchyroll was worth that much money, which it's not worth that much. I mean, it's worth a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's not worth $1 billion. And to them, with them having multiple streaming platforms, whenever they're just trying to solely focus on one, well, why would they need another streaming platform, right? Whenever they could just pull it into HBO Max. And then, of course, we have cock dentures. Their teeth have practically been pulled out at this point, or rather punched out at this point. I mean, seriously, everybody knows how bad that company is. And the thing of it is that with all the bad press with Rooster Teeth, they are nowhere close to being a priority. I mean, in fact, they don't even have hardly any shows anymore. And then you have Genlock, which AT&T, they were the ones who issued another season of that because they lost so much money on it to try to get it back on HBO Max. Rooster Teeth is not a priority at all. And if anything, if you had to ask me my opinion on it, they're the most likely to get chopped and be gone. I would say by next year, if I had to predict, just an assumption, I would probably say Rooster Teeth will be going within the next year. they will not exist anymore. They'll probably get rolled into HBO Max. And then, of course, whenever WarnerMedia, as I stated, they're focusing on HBO Max, it is their main priority. It is everything that they've basically put their money into. They've put their gambling chips right on it, and that's what they're focusing on. So why would they need other streaming services when they can put them all into one? You see what I mean? So there's going to be a lot of jobs lost because of this cut. And if you look at AT&T's stock, okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. Their stock has been dropping. It has been plummeting bad, with it only being $28.32 a share. So $28 a share, basically. That is bad. That is very bad. And with how much debt they're in, yeah, that doesn't help them. And then, of course, if you go back 5 days ago, so a week ago, you look at that, at their highest, $29. Yet again, that is not good. It has dropped within a week. But then if we go back to 6 months, where was that at in its highest? Well, 6 months ago. And that was at $33. $33.23. That is terrible. To think that it was at $33.23 months ago. And now it's at $28.32. This is terrible. This is not good. And from the things I've been hearing from sources, yeah, looking at it, this is going to be terrible. I mean, these cuts are going to be really bad. WarnerMedia, which has been led by CEO Jason Kellar, which Jason Kellar is the one doing all of this. He's the one who's been making the cuts and changes. Since the spring is among the major media companies pivoting toward streaming. Its HBO Max service launched in May, but has not gotten much traction as of yet. The problem with that one was that why didn't you put HBO Max on Amazon Fire Stick or Roku? People want to watch this on their TV. People don't care to have to go all the way over to their computer to watch it. I mean, seriously, this was the big mistake I think that they really made. And if they're not careful, well, this could still fail. And if it does, yeah, AT&T is in dire situation. I don't know why they didn't just put it on Fire Stick or Roku. I don't understand this. I think that was a very bad business take on their part. I mean, seriously, they could have gotten a lot more followers. They made a huge mistake on that one. Its HBO Max service launched in May, but has not gotten much traction as of yet, drawing 4.1 million signups in its first month. One of the major efforts since the company was acquired by AT&T in 2018 has been unifying long autonomous divisions HBO, Warner Bros., and Turner. The streamlining of those businesses have already resulted in a significant exodus of personnel. Yeah, that's putting it in a very generous way. Very generous. Parent AT&T paid $81 billion to acquire WarnerMedia in 2018 in a deal dogged by antitrust regulators. It has been saddled with a debt load of more than $150 billion since the year began and has looked at selling off DirecTV and other assets. Yeah, it's slash until you cut off everything that you just lower that debt. That's the way they're trying to do this. European regulators this week signed off on its sale of Central European Media to ZEC Investment Group PPF. WarnerMedia has had several rounds of cuts, most recently toward the end of the summer, when it let go of several hundred workers. Yeah, which was like 650 people. I think it was supposed to be around 800 total. It was insane. Layoffs have become a seemingly permanent, ongoing feature of the entertainment landscape as a pandemic and streaming reshape the business. Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. Like I said, you had these issues going on before the pandemic. This, the pandemic accelerated it, yes, but the pandemic is not the cause of it. This had been going on before this. They were in bad debt before the pandemic. But they're going to try to use the pandemic as an excuse. And then, of course, you have Disney, most recently announced 28,000 layoffs at its U.S. theme park. So Doomcock was right, by the way. His insiders told him that they were going to cut people. Well, he was right. 28,000 layoffs. And Disney themselves are in extremely terrible shape right now. Let me add that, by the way. In late summer, NBC Universal CEO Jeff Shell confirmed that separations reported to be in the hundreds, if not thousands, were in the works there as well, in part due to a streamlining under Mark Lazarus, combining TV and streaming. Yeah, of course, everybody's trying to get everything for that streaming war. Everything's trying to be put together for that. Everybody's trying to go up against Netflix. I remember when it was just one streaming platform, and now it's just all over the place. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. But, it gets worse, all right? So these are people that some of them work for WarnerMedia. This article alone told these people that basically there was going to be layoffs. They didn't even know by their own company. That's how bad this is. That's how bad WarnerMedia is. And the massive expansion of offices WB is doing in Burbank. You just spent $1 billion on real estate, buying the old NBC lot. And Frank Gary's iceberg floating buildings currently under construction along the 134, only to lay off hundreds, potentially thousands of people and have AT&T clean house at the same place and time. I mean, is there any plan or strategy, WB? Or is it a complete free-for-all and every man is out there for himself? I mean, that's basically what it is. They're basically all out for themselves because at this point, nobody's certain of anything. Nobody knows if they're going to keep their jobs, and that's how unorganized AT&T and WarnerMedia is. They don't even tell their employees when there's going to be a layoff at this point. That's bad. That's really terrible. Turner WarnerMedia has suffered from poor leadership from manager to EVP for years now. No respect for employees, and recently it just had become psychological warfare. And HBO Max, lol, every single person who has touched that brand this year has been a complete failure. The most incompetent group from top to bottom I've seen in my life, and the worst lies ahead of them. Yeah, exactly, because it's not even over yet. I mean, this is insane stuff. And, that's the thing. AT&T and WarnerMedia, they're so out of touch with entertainment, they don't understand it. Basically, what's important to them is just making the dollar. It's not about trying to make good entertainment. It's just the money. And they're going to chop whoever they can just to ensure that they stay afloat. I mean, that's basically how it is. I mean, that's how companies are. But AT&T is absolutely merciless and brutal. I, along with many others, took an early retirement buyout last year at HBO. I don't regret taking up the offer, knowing that the entity once known as HBO would be dissolved of its independence and would remain as just a brand name under AT&T leadership. I'm sad for all my colleagues who are far short of retirement and now must struggle in securing employment in a pandemic universe. I mean, this is really bad. You can definitely tell. People are completely shocked by this. And think about it. This article alone was how some people learned about, layoffs. Their own company was so unorganized that they didn't even tell them, that they just kept it quiet. And then people learned through this article. I mean, that's insane. That's horrible. Terrible mismanagement, in my opinion. Warner Bros. This is typical AT&T layoffs. I mean, surplus 2 times a year? Get used to this. Exactly. I mean, they'll chop heads. They'll chop divisions, whatever it takes. I mean, that's how they are. They don't care. As long as they can keep those numbers up and gain more money, that's all they care about. They do not care about chopping whatever they have to. Agree, and shockingly unacceptable. They should fire the individuals leaking this highly sensitive information. What people do for a quick buck. Breaking news for Deadline, heartbreaking news for WarnerMedia employees. Exactly. I mean, it is heartbreaking for the employees because, they don't even know who's going to get chopped off. That's the thing about layoffs. You don't know who's going to go. And then, of course, this is an intense time. And I'm telling you right now, looking at it, there are some divisions that I think are just going to be completely gone. Looking at it, I think Crunchyroll will either A, get sold off if they can find a buyer, or B, they're going to roll it into HBO Max. I mean, Rooster Teeth, I think they're going to be the closest to being gone. I think they're going to get the axe faster than anybody else. I mean, I've never seen a company just nuke itself so horribly. I mean, they're probably going to go first, if anybody. They'll get rolled into HBO Max or Cartoon Network's animation division. And when Rooster Teeth goes, all I have to say is nothing of value was lost. I mean, that company has been dead for years. And I'm going to tell you right now, nothing of value will be lost when they're gone. DC, of course, when it comes to the comic book industry, you look at that. It's been collapsing. Myself, many other people have been talking about it. So DC Comics themselves, they're on an extremely tight thread as well. But when you look at it, WarnerMedia, they're about to go through a huge slaughterhouse. I'm going to keep my eyes on this situation because it's about to be very intense. You want to talk about brutal slaughters? Well, that's what's about to happen. And it's going to be rough for a lot of people. So WarnerMedia is about to go through a huge apocalypse. But anyways, let me know what you think about this entire situation down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And make sure you are still subscribed because YouTube is unsubscribing people from all their favorite channels. So make sure you are still subscribed to all your favorite channels. Hit the video with a like and also be sure to share the video on social media. Spread the word and get it out there. It's greatly appreciated and it really helps out the channel a lot. Also, be sure to follow me on Discord. We have a wonderful community there. Not only that, but it will keep you up to date on when the news videos will be released, as well as any other upcoming events in the near future. So be sure to follow me on Discord. The link is in the description down below. But anyways, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and fantastic day today. And remember, if today was not a good day, tomorrow could always be better. Take care of yourselves and everyone around you. And have yourselves a good one out there, everybody.